In our present constitutional scheme, 1987 Constitution, we also have 24 senators, but we conduct elections every 3 years for 12 senators. Meaning to say, Mr. President, yung may iwang kalahati na 12 is not sufficient to constitute a quorum, dahil 12, dapat 13, much more convict. Because to convict, you need 16 senators, Mr. President. Is it now the proposition of the good minority leader that the constitutional spirit as enshrined in the 1935 Constitution, the same as the spirit prevailing, although it is not as admitted by the good minority leader, textually enshrined, the same as the 1935? Ibig sabihin po ba yung 12 ay may quorum, yung 12 ay may pwedeng maging 2/3 to allow your notion that we can carry over at yung mga yung sikat nga yung salita maitawid? Tama po ba yun, Mr. President?
Ako, Mr. President, yung 2/3 kasi is actually that was probably just the decision of the framers of the Constitution. They could have made it 1+1. They could have made it 3/4. So it's maybe by accident that 2/3 is equal to 8+8 is 16 is 2/3, so 24. But I do not think that was really the point, Mr. President. But at any rate, we have to live with the 1987 Constitution. So we look at the 1987 Constitution. And looking at the 1987 Constitution, the Senate is the impeachment court, not because it is the Senate created under Article 6, because it was recognized to be the court under Article 11. The framers could have chosen another body to be the court. That is theoretically possible. But it chose the Senate, not as a legislative body, but as a part of Congress, but not as a legislative body. So, yun po yung aking pagkaintindi. We have to live with the 1987 Constitution. We copied generally the idea siguro sa United States, but let's not be so beholden to their practices and rulings, kasi iba na rin po, iba talaga ang sitwasyon natin. And I think textually speaking, my position is supported that although we keep on saying Senate, but this is not Senate as the other half of Congress, but this is the Senate chosen under Article 11 to be the impeachment court. So iba po ito. And then may paragraph 8 doon, sinabi, Congress shall also issue the rules to give life to the accountability of public officers. So, and we have done that. So, kaya ang aking stand actually is the Senate as an institution is the impeachment court. So the member judges can change, but just like as a division of the Supreme Court, division of the Sandigan Bayan and the CA, if they change their members, yung docket nila or caseload nila, tuloy pa rin. They have to decide the cases and bring the cases to their logical conclusion. So that is my simplified position, Mr. President.
So one last question, Mr. President, if the good gentleman would accede. Ang ibig sabihin po nito, Mr. President, is that the Senate now, under the 19th Congress, is empowered, is authorized to confer a jurisdiction to another Senate, which would be forthcoming, the Senate of the 20th Congress. So, allowed po ba tayo under the Constitution to transfer pending business, or should it follow likewise, using your logic, the traditional norm of having it refiled and reset starting from zero, similar to the bills?
Yes, yun na nga.
So, ibig ko sabihin, Mr. President, what would prevent the 19th Congress from passing on the impeachment case, not just to the 20th Congress, but to the 21st Congress. And I implore the good minority leader that all the provisions mentioned a while ago, which are correct, should likewise be read together with the constitutional provision that there should be only one impeachment case filed per year against the same respondent, Mr. President.
Alam nyo ba, Mr. President, na yung rule na yung legislative workload natin ay magre-reset kada pag may bagong kongreso? Alam nyo ba na wala sa Constitution yun? Nasa rules natin yun. Oh. Ang rules natin, promulgated natin because of the power given to us by the Constitution. But the Constitution does not specify that. Actually, we could have written na yung pumasa na ng third reading, itrato natin na third reading na rin. We could do that, but we did not do it. So policy lang po yun na reset natin as far as legislative workload is concerned. Pagdating naman sa impeachment judicial workload of the Senate as an impeachment court, I propose or I give the interpretation that the caseload remains. Ang nagbago lang are the member judges. Just like, I think we can easily envision sa Supreme Court, nagbabago, divisions ng CA, divisions ng Sandigan Bayan, but the caseload remains. So I think we can mentally separate the two kasi Article 6 yung legislative workload, Article 11 yung impeachment workload. So that would be my response, Mr. President.
But Mr. President, would not that prevent the other part of the two-step process? Two-step process because filed by the lower house, prosecutors, received by the Senate, the trial jurors, the trial judges. Would not that prevent the other part of the two-leg process from initiating another complaint because there is now a case pending which you say should be continuing?
If the majority leader will allow me not to respond, but
yes,
his question is very loaded and provides the hint of what can happen in the future.
Mr. President, I've taken too much time of this body. I would relish interpolating the good minority leader even for 5 hours on this topic alone. But again, Mr. President, siguro mahabang-mahaba na po ito. I stick again to my previous manifestation that if we will not be able to conclude whether acquittal or conviction the present impeachment case against Vice President Sara Duterte before the lapse of the 19th Congress, the same is functionally dismissed or deemed de facto dismissed, Mr. President. Yun lamang po, Mr. President, at ako po ay nagpapasalamat sa ating minority leader.
Thank you, Senator Tolentino. Briefly, Senator Pimentel.
Mr. President, while I still have the floor, can I request for some information from the Senate President, especially regarding the impeachment calendar that
The
is
gentleman may
issued,
proceed.
because you issued the first impeachment calendar was issued by the Senate President when we were already on break. I mean, Mr. President, tama po yun, di ba?
That is correct.
So, Mr. President, may we know when His Honor issued the first legislative calendar, impeachment calendar, which fixed June 2 as the time for receiving the House prosecutors, may we know the basis of the authority of the Senate President when he issued the first impeachment calendar, Mr. President?
Article 1 of the impeachment rules, which says that the Senate President can set the date for the presentation of the articles of impeachment. Mention was made specifically of the Senate President. And also we were on recess. So the Senate President at that time, Your Honor, issued a suggested calendar of activities. I was very clear when I stated that. Subject to plenary approval when we resume, because you were already on recess at that time. The second notice sent by this representation was made also while we were on recess. And I also stated that it was subject to plenary approval and or reversal, as the case may be, given the load that we need to take up after the LEDAC meeting.
So yes, Mr. President, I noticed that no one from the majority was complaining about the original or initial impeachment calendar issued by the Senate President. So we were all looking forward to the date where there should be some action on the impeachment, which is
Yes.
June 2.
Supposedly, yes.
Yes, supposed to be. Kaninang 4 o'clock yung the prosecutors from the House of Representatives should have appeared before us to read the articles of impeachment. But then this was changed. So from June 2, changed by the Senate President also, now
June 11.
it's June 11 at 4 p.m. So if the authority used to issue the original calendar was based on the fact that we were on break, now that we are not on break, could not have the Senate President waited for 3 p.m. and then we discussed moving the June 2 4 p.m. to June 11 4 p.m.?
Because, Your Honor, notice had to be given to the House with respect to the proposed change in schedule. And we could not decide on moving it after the House members are already here in the Senate. That was the reason behind it.
That was His Honor's judgment call, Mr. President.
Yes, Mr. President. Yes, Your Honor.
Just on another matter, Mr. President, yung appearance ba ng House prosecutors ay nasa Senate impeachment rules or you just took this from American practice?
It is not in the rules. That was lifted from American practice, because what was done before was that the majority leader, the Senate majority leader, was the one that read the articles of impeachment that was referred to the Committee on Rules that triggered the convening of the impeachment court. When we researched on it, we thought it was more proper, given that we should have no part in it, in the impeachment trial, in the prosecution of the impeachment case, that the prosecutors should themselves read the articles of impeachment, as is the practice in the United States, where we lifted most of our impeachment rules.
So it's an innovation. But although, had we done it, hindi naman, I don't think it would be fatal or make the proceedings infirm. So it's just not, to use the term of the majority leader, textually required under the existing Senate impeachment rules. Hindi pa ba?
No. What was required by our rules, if at all, was the referral of the impeachment complaint in plenary. Because mere filing with the Secretary General does not often by itself operate as the receipt by the Senate in plenary, given that, as with any communication, it has to be referred in plenary, officially by the Senate as a body.
Mr. President,
Sige, Mr. President.
Mr. President, with the permission,
Senator Tolentino is recognized. What is your pleasure, sir?
would the loaded question of the good minority leader, if decoded, would mean that should the presentment be made before the Senate sitting as a plenary, or should the presentment be made before the Senate constituted as an impeachment court? Baka yun po yung tanong nyo.
But it was the Senate President to research on American practice. How do they do? How do they do it in the United States?
In plenary, Your Honors, not as an impeachment court, because again, mere receipt by the SecGen does not operationalize or start the process of impeachment. Any communication, and that is a communication from the House, must be referred by plenary to the appropriate committee for proper action. That in turn will now trigger, if at all, the convening of the impeachment court, where the regular processes would now be followed, such as the issuance of summons, etc., etc.
May we know the rule, Mr. President, that it
I'm
should
sorry?
be? May we know what the specific rule? Is that in the rules or is that by practice